Hello, this is Storyteller Mitch with some more The Night Walker. Beverly Mortland's office hadn't changed location since Irene Trent's last visit. It was prominently located on the 5th floor, the tallest building in the financial district. Irene parked her convertible in a narrow space before the building. She was wearing another of her dark tailored outfits. Anyone seeing her for the first time would have thought nothing but happy thoughts about her beauty. Irene had always possessed the sturdy faculty of not wearing her troubles on her face. Mary Morland received her in this private office, an inner affair which boasted a big desk, bigger windows, and a fine view of the city's harbor. It was lovely blue sky day, and he did seem pleased to see her. "This is the first time you've ever been here, isn't it?" He had waved her to the modern chair that was far more comfortable than it looked. All of the office was fashionable. The legal tomes which lined the shelves behind his head were all tooled in rich leather, and even the sensible gray of the steel filing cabinets spoke volumes of the taste enhanced by the well-lined purse. "Yes, I knew the way, though. I drove Howard here once before without coming up. I chose to wait in the car." "Well, welcome to your first official trip." He was trying to be extremely cordial. She could see. "There's a reason," she said. "I imagine there might be," he replied dryly. She studied him as he indicated a neat pile of sheathed papers and folders on the desk close to his right hand. His suits continued to look good on him. The attractiveness of his masculine face with his dark hair and blue eyes was nicely carried through by the strong square of his shoulders. "I've just been going over some of your husband's files. There's quite a bit of property, you know." "That's what I came to you to talk about." "Oh," his eyebrows raised skeptically. "I want to sell the house, Barry." He hesitated before answering. Then he pushed his chair back slightly and faced her directly. "I'm afraid that's impossible. It will be at least 6 months before the estate goes into probate. I can't wait 6 months. His tone softened. He smiled. "Look, Irene, if it's the money you need, I'm sure the court will make some arrangement for an allowance until the estate is settled." "I want to get rid of the house now." "But why?" he persisted. "The building inspector sent a copy of his report. There's no danger in your living there." "You haven't had my report," she remarked acidly. His eyes frowned, but he said nothing. "Last night I had a dream about Howard." She rose from her chair, feeling a need to be unencumbered, able to run if she wanted to. "I saw the smoke. I heard the explosion. I went into that room." She shuddered. "I saw his face. The whole side was burned away. It was horrible." Beverly Morland was a lawyer. He had no time for clients' nightmares. "But where would you go?" Irene struggled for composure. "I still own the beauty shop I operated before Howard and I were married. There's room in there in the rear for a place. I could stay there. Are you sure you'll be comfortable?" "Quite sure." He seemed to consider the idea from a fresh angle. He nodded musingly. "Perhaps it's a good idea. You'll work, get out of that house, and into the real world again. That's what I'm interested in from now on. Reality." Her eyes had moved past him to the desk beyond. There was a large unframed photo standing there, inclined toward the end of the room. It was a picture of Howard Trent before the fire. He was dressed in a handsome light suit, wearing dark glasses, smiling in the improved fashion of the posed photographs the world over. "Something wrong?" Beverly Morland's smooth face broke in on her. "Reverie?" She had risen from her chair and moved to the picture, turning it over in her hands. "Where did this come from?" "I found it in the files. Would you like to have it?" She stared down at the photo for full measure of time, and then repressed an involuntary shudder, turning away. "No," she said. "Howard Trent is gone." Beverly Morland took out a cigarette case and tapped the cylinder on his thumbnail. His blue eyes were thoughtful. Irene Trent sat down, hoping the smiling picture of Howard would go away. Irene hadn't changed either. As she braked the red convertible in the parking space allotted for the clientele, Irene Trent could see the status was quo. The front windows of her shop were still attractively draped with that golden material so many of the customers had remarked about. The opaque glass door was just as easy to push open as ever. She paused in the entranceway to the right of the chrome cash register and let the shop flutter with a pleasant nostalgia. There was a counter and the 3 curtain booths, the long wall of the mirrors and shelves lined with cosmetic aids and devices, the small reception area with butterfly chairs and magazine stands crowded with issues of Time, Life, Newsweek, Vogue, and Harper's Bazaar struck her eyes with poignant impact. She felt as if she had really come home again. The place was doing a good business, too. She could see that as she moved deeper into the interior of no man's land. A heavy female was planted solidly under the first upright hair dryer on the line. Next to her was a scrawny brunette having her dried-out locks administered to by the white-aproned operator. Irene smiled tenderly. Pat was no heavier than her customer. Beyond her, Hilda was putting the finishing touches on a henna rinse for a short little woman with nice legs. Hilda was buxomly endowed as ever. She had obviously lost no weight and was still wearing glasses. Over the whole scene was the noisy hum and bustle that always surrounded a group of women at work, play, or just plain gossip. Good afternoon, Pat," Irene said quietly, an inch from Pat's thin shoulders. Pat looked around her face, breaking in a warm smile, but before she could match it with words, Hilda had spotted Irene. "Mrs. Trent, welcome back." Irene laughed happily. "It's so good to see you again," Hilda bubbled. "You might as well get used to it. I'll be here from now on." The customers, obviously new ones, squinted in her direction, managing easy smiles at all the fuss. Pat spoke up. "You know all the stuff." She looked at Hilda. "Yes, I know. The movers delivered the furniture," Hilda said. Irene took off her gloves. "I suppose the back room is a mess." "Oh no," Hilda protested. "Joyce had everything." Page turn. Okay. "Everything ready for you." She jerked a broad thumb to the rear of Irene's. "Joyce? You remember, don't you? I hired her a couple months back. She's in the back now, straightening things out." Irene nodded. Hilda's victim was beginning to make faces under her henna rinse. "You better look after your customer, Hilda." Hilda winked. "See you later, Mrs. Trent." The curtain alcove which closed off the rear of the shop had always been a place of seclusion and rest from the shop's turmoil. Irene approached it with the same sense of serenity that came over her every time she remembered a pleasant thing now. The past could be so comforting, in light of how tormenting the present was. She swept through the drapes slowly. There was a rather pretty blonde girl, late 20s or so, over by the vanity, opening drawers as if she was looking for something. Irene hardly gave her a second glance. The room had rushed back from the past to greet her with open arms. There was to the rear exit with another curtained floor. The daybed with the small end table she remembered, having burned a hole in with a careless cigarette. The little window above the bed was curtained also. All the drapes matched in the big easy chair with the funny elephant design parading all over its comfortable length. The low stand with the electric hot plate where you cook yourself a meal if you were too lazy to go out for one. The portable refrigerator, the bookcase, the comfortable well-worn carpet. It was all there, asking her to come in and stay a while. Irene slid the curtain shut behind her. The sliding rasp of the hoops made the girl at the vanity whirl in a sudden alarm, her hands flying up to the buttons of her white uniform. "Oh!" she gasps. Irene smiled. "Sorry if I startled you." The pretty face smiled too. "Mrs. Trent, I'm Joyce Holliday." She came forward, a girl with a good, trim figure, a ready, open smile, and a firm handshake. Irene liked her immediately. "I know." Joyce gestured around the room. "I was just straightening things up. The place is so small, there wasn't much I could do. You have no idea how good this looks to me." She glanced around appreciatively. "You've done a nice job, Joyce." The pretty face brightened. Joyce crossed to the wall closet, sliding the door back. Irene saw most of her garments and clothes hung neatly on the hangers and hooks. "Your clothes were delivered too. I know you want to arrange them yourself, but I hung them up anyway." "Thank you again." Joyce closed the door. "I'd better finish up with my customer." We'll be, okay. We'll be closing soon. Irene nodded. You run along. Joyce peered at her. Mrs. Trent, you look tired. Sure you wouldn't like me to fix you a cup of coffee? No thanks, I'll be all right. The girl was oddly hesitant, like a mother hen. What are you going to do about supper? Irene had sat down in the easy chair, kicking off her high heels, allowing a delicious sense of comfort to take over her body. I'm not worried about food. All I'm interested in is a good night's sleep. Joyce moved to the curtain entrance. We'll close up, she said, as if reassuring a child. I'll tell the girls not to disturb you. Thank you, Joyce. When she had gone, Irene closed her eyes sleepily and stifled a yawn. It was so peaceful now, so dreamily fine. She felt unfettered and free, about to soar. An intoxicating lethargy pervaded her limbs, stealing over her with long, lulling fingers. Outside, the bustle and slow clamor of the shop receded into the darkness. She slept. The rapping sound from the direction of the window woke her up. She came to with a start, her eyes batting about the room for a total recall. She relaxed a bit when she recognized the back room of the shop. Her mind accepted the distant truth that she had fallen asleep with her clothes on, but what time was it and how long had she slept? Moonlight, dim and mysterious, illuminated the window, showing her a clear glass. There was just enough light to make all the familiar objects of the room recognizable. Irene? A man's voice, soft and unhurried, spoke her name. Bewildered, she probed the gloom. Irene! The voice was louder now, almost urgent. She swung her stiff-from-sleep legs off the daybed and rose uncertainly. She glassed upper panel of the back door and riveted her attention. The glassed upper panel of the back door riveted her attention. A tall, shadowy silhouette, hand raised to tap on the pane, stood framed like a strange picture. Irene, the voice said again, let me in. It was a command now, gently smooth with the pleading quality. Dumbly she plodded toward the door. She swung it open. Her eyes widened in complete recognition. No. Fear, almost relief. The dream stood there, tall, erect, handsome, and smiling. You, she whispered softly, wonderingly. Let me in. He entered as he stepped back to her hand still on the handle of the door. Her mind was a riot of feeling. The dream wore dark slacks and a jacket. He seemed to ripple when he walked, and shining freshness emanated from him as though he had been placed between fine layers of new tissue for a long time, like a brand new toy. But she fell back from him, retreating, now afraid again. Darling, the dream said, extending his hands. Irene caught herself on the rim of nowhere. Who are you? She begged. He smiled tenderly, white teeth flashing in his handsome face. You know me. We've seen each other many times. She believed that. She nodded slowly. Yes. The dream came toward her. Irene took in an involuntary step away from the dream. He looked surprised. Surely you're not afraid, darling. Not of me. We've known each other too long for that. She tried to pierce the mystery of his tender smile. Indeed, she was all too aware of the fact that she did recognize him, that he was no stranger to her, and she was attracted to him. Powerfully so, it was only the baffling inability to understand what was happening that troubled her so. I don't even know your name, she hedged. Dreams have no names. Dreams? The word stung her. It's happening, isn't it, darling? It's happened before. He was moving closer, reaching her. He could touch her now with his hands. Irene stared up at him glassily. She couldn't move. The dream had mesmerized her. She felt his strong arms encircle her, his face poised just above her, yet she was passive. This is what you remember, isn't it? The dream purred. The way I'm holding you now, close in my arms? The dream tightened his embrace. His face moved in on her, his lips meshing down on her own. Irene's trance-like state, so strong before, was waning. The warmth and rising passion of the dream's mouth flooded her with ecstatic little needles of desire. She melted away, dissolving the rapture of his kiss. Irene, the dream murmured, overcome with emotion. He no longer had to spur her to response. Her arms came up feverishly and fastened themselves on his broad shoulders. Her hot mouth roamed hungrily over his face. The nails of her fingers dug into his neck. "Oh," Irene moaned. "Love me, love me, love me." The dream did. And that's it for this part. Thanks for listening. Ciao.